Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
All right. Hey there, folks. It's your favorite friendly neighborhood Dr. Ben's Comics. We're here today. We got a special treat. We've got a guest here in the studio. We have the legendary comic book artist. He's been at Marvel Comics. He's been at DC Comics, Image, Valiant, Dark Horse. You name it, he's been there. He's done that. It's the legendary one and only Andy Smith.
Hello. How's it going, man?
Fantastic.
Cool.
I hadn't realized, like I've got like a bunch of your comics.
Sure.
I think the first thing I can think of, like ever seeing your name, was like Quasar.
Yeah.
And then
that that was early on. It wasn't my first stuff, but it was my first monthly. So
right. Okay. So that's what I mean. It's like looking up just to like, do like the basic preparation for interviewing you. Like you literally have worked on like all the characters at Marvel, all like everybody at DC. I mean not literally all of them, but I mean,
right. Yeah, no, I've gotten around.
It's insane. Marvel, DC. I was looking. I just found this. I wasn't even looking, and I found this claw you had done with Chuck Dixon, and that was from Wildstorm. And you worked on Wildcats at some point. Like that's what I'm saying. It was like everything. Just like, damn, he really has worked on everything. And I was, it impressed me because like anytime, like I've watched your show, I've seen you on other shows and everything, and like you're like humble. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not like, I've worked on everything, so I know everything there is to know about comics. I've already drawn Batman. I've already drawn Thanos and the Silver Surfer, and you know what I mean? Like you're not just like a regular, like down to earth dude. So like what's your secret? What's your
my secret? I don't really have one. I mean, I have, I've worked on a lot of stuff. I've worked on, yeah, I mean, I have drawn a lot of the characters. I guess, I don't know. I guess now that I think about it, because I've never really been asked that, I've only done a few monthly books, and then I've done, some mini series or limited series, whatever you want to call them, and stuff like that. And, so I've worked on a lot of characters, but it also isn't because it's like, I've drawn Batman, but it's because I helped out on an issue here, did something with them on something, there. It wasn't like I did a run on the book, which, to be honest, I like Batman, but I'm not, in this business, when I was freelance, if you get offered a gig, most guys aren't in a position to go, no, I'm going to turn it down. I don't want to do that. Right. So, I mean, honestly, if it was like, hey, you want to draw Batman every month, I would have done it. But if I was in a position where I could have said, no, I'd rather not, I probably wouldn't have, because I'm not a big Batman guy,
Right.
But, yeah. So I'm glad I got to draw him. I'm glad I've got to draw and I'm a big Superman guy, so that would have been great. But, I'm glad I got to draw Superman. I'm glad I got to, draw the X-Men and X-Men Forever, which was the, Chris Claremont book where he was basically picking it up like it was from the 90s when he did it. And that was, that in the early 80s was the era of the X-Men I really liked. So, I got to draw the team of the X-Men that I really enjoyed, not whatever the current team was at that time period of X-Men Forever, because that team I was just like, yeah, whatever, hot and cold with. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I always look at it like, even when I'm sitting here working, because, people are like, people will say, oh, it must be so nice, doing having a job that you love and stuff, that whole, oh, it never feels like work, whatever the saying is. And it is. It does feel like work, but on days where it really feels like work, I just sit back and remind myself of the other jobs. I remind myself of two things: the other jobs that, I could be doing that, would be like, oh, this is work. And I remind myself of, yeah, even though this day, isn't going great for whatever reason, I just think like I'm one of the few people that knew what they wanted to do at a young age and am doing it. Like an example I use is accounting, right? And I have an accountant, of course, and an in-law of mine is an accountant. I don't know. I've never asked him, but I just can't imagine them being, when I was like 12, 13, that's when I was like, I want to draw comic books for a living. I don't imagine if I asked them at 12 or 13, what do you want to do for a living? I can't imagine a 12 or 13-year-old going, I want to be an accountant. Now, I'm not knocking being an accountant by any means. Hell, my accountant does a hell of a lot better than I do. He's got a staff under him and all that. So he makes a good living. But, if you want to put it in a category of dream job, I'm not quite sure he'd throw that in that category, So I always think like, I'm lucky because I'm doing what I want to do since I was a kid. So yeah, I just kind of remind myself of that on, days that I'm just like, oh, this isn't working, it's not coming out right. And, my little wham session that I'll have every now and then.
Right. Well, I think is that like, is that almost like that, like imposter syndrome in a sense where you're almost like, like why do I get to make comics and do stuff? Like I'm not Bernie Wrightson, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, probably, and I've talked to, obviously I know a lot of artists. I've talked to a lot of artists and stuff through my career. And I think they all say that there's a bit of imposter syndrome in all of them, even guys probably like a Bernie, big name guys like that. I think we all have it to a certain extent. It's just how much of that inner monologue that we all have really, gets in, talks that way to you. Like, oh my God, why am I doing this? I also think in the beginning, most people have it. And, I've been doing it for 34 years now. So it's not as prevalent as it was, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's still there to an extent, because the thing is, and this, I can't speak for other artists on this, but like the worst thing you can do and as a creator, whether it's art, writing, anything like that, is compare. I mean, that's the first thing. That's what I tell young artists too, is never compare yourself to somebody else, because, you might think so-and-so doesn't have any faults and their stuff's just perfect, whatever. But trust me, if you got inside their head, it'd be a different story. And, it really can kind of like drag you down when you do that, because, I'm not comparing, because I still do it, of course.
Right.
And I'll look at something I did and be like, oh, it's really cool. And then, like, for instance, I'm a huge Neil Adams fan. Love Neil Adams' work, right? So I'll look at, something Neil did, and even stuff he did, right towards the last part of his career. And while I can see mistakes in that stuff, and I can see mistakes in his earlier stuff too, I still look at it and I'm like, man, this guy's just phenomenal. I'll just never, reach that pinnacle or, whatever. And, yeah, so I think that's one of the things with working isolated like we do. Cause I mean, I work, I don't talk to really anybody during the day. And, I just listen to podcasts pretty much and draw and And I think one of the reasons I switched to podcasts is because with music, I could kind of get sidetracked more with distractions of when I was working, whereas with podcasts, it keeps my mind more involved, even though it's not a conversation, obviously, because I can't talk back to whatever I'm listening to. It feels like it. You know what I mean? Like I will notice myself like, oh wow, or no way, or whatever when I'm listening to a podcast. And I listen to a bunch, I listen to comedy stuff and political stuff. And then I love, one of my favorite ones that if I could wish it was like every day would be Sword and Scale, which, is a murder one.
Yeah, true crime pod. Yeah,
True crime. Yeah.
Like they're definitely like when you get like on when you have like a podcast where they're like they really know what they're doing and they can just present like any story or any you know what I mean? Like I used to listen to was it last podcast on the left? They'd cover all the like the crazy conspiracy stuff, aliens, all the different maybe not all the different, but a bunch of the different true crime things. So they'd cover like the JFK stuff, or they covered the what was it, the Jim Jones, like the like the crazy.
There's one I listen to now. I can't remember the name of it, but it comes out once a week on Wednesdays, and it's actually now I want to know the name, and luckily I can see it real quick. I see that's just the thing. I don't want to say it's a conspiracy theory. That's the name of it because these aren't conspiracy theories. It's that's it. It's okay, so it is in the title, but it's multiple things.
Okay.
It's called Conspiracy Theories, Cults, and Crimes. So one episode might be a conspiracy theory, like the one that came out this past Wednesday is about that cult Nixium. Remember that, where the chick from Smallville and stuff was involved in it. So that's the one that like came out. But she talked about like Jim Jones in one of the podcasts and stuff like that. And even if it's something like Jim Jones, which I've heard of before, and I think I've even watched stuff on it. I still like listening to stuff like this because there's bound to be something I didn't know before. Well, they bring up.
I'm a huge. I'm the same. I love politics and news and just I'm just a junkie. But like I'm a huge like Jack the Ripper fan. Not fan.
Oh yeah.
All the there's so many books, so many, just tons and tons of books.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And like going in that like obviously most of them aren't right or aren't the whatever the actual solution is, but it's like I think it's like looking at things looking at so many different like opinions or viewpoints can only like help you like with your own, you know what I mean? Like it helps you to like get out of your head and kind of see things from different perspectives. So that's
true.
And definitely like that's what I'm saying. Like if you get like a podcaster that they're good they know how to do radio and they're just a good presenter. I mean that's what I'm saying. They can cover like anything. So I guess that's almost almost liking that to you, because I mean we've got like I said, you started at Marvel, and where you didn't start at Marvel, but
no, I started
at all the different places. And did I do that right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got the chance to do like whatever it is you want, whatever you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to focus yourself on. And tell us about Lilineth, because I know this is the thing too, as I have not read Core Draft. So the other comic that is.
Yep.
I've not read that.
Okay.
And this, all I know is just that it looks cool. It reminds me of Conan, but like better. So.
Oh, thanks.
And also,
yeah, I mean Lilineth. So Lilineth was first appeared, you could say, introduced in Core Draft the Reckoning, the first Core Draft books. There's been 2 of those, and after the second one, we want to do standalone Lilineth story because we got good feedback on her and stuff. So Dennis and I came up with this story for this book, Infernal Conflict. And the nice thing is, like you said, you've never read Core Draft.
Right.
Well, the nice thing about this book is you don't have to. It is a standalone story. You know, the first page of the book does pick up where at the end of the last Core Draft book, she's entering a portal to go back to her domain. You could say in the abyss. In this book, on the splash page, the first page of the book, you actually see the portal in the background as she comes out of it into, where she lives.
Right.
But that's pretty much the only tie-in, and it's not something to where, I mean, it is a little bit of like, I wonder where she's coming from. Can I go get this book? Right. But you don't need to know any of that previous stuff for the story in this book, because this book is like a prequel where we're telling her story, and it's all the stuff that happened before she even went into the Core Draft world, the Shattered Reach. So that's why it doesn't really connect, and you don't really need to know the stuff. Now, of course, for people that don't and haven't, we have the catch-up tier, and we'd love it if somebody backs this, they were to back that tier and, get volume 1 and 2 of Core Draft, because we think, they'd really like it as well. But Lilineth is she's for fans of people that like Lady Death, Billy Tucci, Witchblade. She's a really tough chick. She's a succubus. That's obvious with the wings and the tail and that stuff. Shapeshifter. And this book deals with a war that was going on in this realm between her faction and then the Incubi, which are the male versions, and the Demon Lord Vixarian, who wants to basically take over and enslave them. And we see how she kind of rises up to become the leader or the general in her queen's army, and that is why she's the one that is sent to the Core Draft world to deal with what's going on in that story. So, and then we launched it on Indiegogo first, and that campaign is still going. And then we launched it here on Kickstarter with Billy's cover, which you can only get here. And then like we've done before, we add the totals together. So when we hit the first stretch goal is 40 grand. So when we hit that, everybody on both sides, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, benefit from it. So there you go. Yeah.
Like 2 seconds. I forgot. I gotta turn off my my stove here, else it's gonna.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'll play the trailer on the Kickstarter thing. That way.
There you go.
That way, that makes sense. Okay. So dumb. Okay, thanks. Hold on.
Oh, I don't think he knows the trailer's not playing. So guys, Lilineth, Infernal Conflict, a dark fantasy epic, 48-page graphic novel, multiple covers. I did the main cover. I did a homage cover to Vampirella #1, and then we have a black and white version of the book, the John Malin cover. So lots of different stuff you can choose. So it's really a fun book, and you guys are definitely going to dig it. You never hit play for the trailer.
No, I did.
Oh, it wasn't showing for some reason.
I shared the wrong. I didn't have it on the right screen. That was me.
Oh, okay.
Right. I've got a wood stove.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
dude, I miss my wood stove. Where without getting obviously too specific, what part of the country are you in then?
Ohio. I don't care. I'm not. No.
Is it cold enough in Ohio where you need that sucker going right now?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like well, I mean it's cold now, definitely. Like it snowed, was this Friday?
Oh shit.
It snowed like last week, but it only stayed for like a day and then thawed, and so that's I've been like, and that's what we just hooked up this new stuff, so I'm not like quite like in sync with it yet, and if I don't turn it off, it like this blower comes on, and it's just like I was on a show the other day, I forgot about it. It's like, and it's a horrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay. We used to live in Syracuse, and this goes back 30 years, and we had a house up there, and when we bought it, it only had the electrical baseboard heaters, and we were kind of like, ooh, electric baseboard heaters, that could get pricey. Right. But there was a wood stove in the great room, and then there was a wood stove right outside the kitchen that was facing the stairs. So the heat from that wood stove, because heat rises, would go up the stairs to heat the bedrooms up there. So anyhow, my wife actually grew up with a wood stove, and she was like, trust me, these will be fine. And I mean, I never had one. I grew up in Maryland. We didn't,
Right.
So that first winter, we had those things going. And I mean, it's Syracuse. It gets freezing up there in the dead of winter. And we had those wood stoves going, and it would still be really warm when you got up in the morning, And I was like, wow, these things are awesome. I never knew the difference between a wood stove and a fireplace. And now I do. A fireplace is for looks, and a wood stove is to heat.
Right. Well, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. No, fireplaces don't heat for shit. They're just nice to look at.
Well, that's the thing. Like last winter, the stove I had was like, I don't know what was wrong with it, but that's what we just switched them out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was like, it looked like an oil drum almost, but it was like cast iron, and it was it sucked. Like it put all this wood in there, and it would all burn up like super fast, and it wouldn't be warm. Like it would be like warm right around the stove.
Oh yeah, no, we did not have that problem. Holy crap.
Radiate. And
yeah, we didn't have there was no blower on our wood stoves either. It was just, I mean, they were just awesome.
All right. Well,
like I said, I miss it.
It is nice. Like it is once you got it going right. Like, and that's what I'm saying. This one is so. All right. Cool. So let me try the trailer again here, because it is. Let's see if I can do this.
There it goes.
Go support my book.
There you go.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which would you almost put her in like the same kind of level as like almost like bad girl art? I mean, that's, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, if this was back when that was, really all the craze, yeah.
Right.
Well,
it's crazy because I mean, it's still like, what is it? Is it Brian Pulido? That's the guy that does
Lady Death.
Yeah, he's still like turning out Lady Death books. I mean, he's
Oh,
still
yeah.
did a cover for, was it a cover that he did for Billy Tucci for She? I think it was something like, or Lady Death showed up in the
yeah,
the
right. And She Gatecrasher, she was on a variant cover that Billy did. So Billy did the cover with her, and then she also was
in the story,
in the book too. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, like, it's, I always felt it was kind of weird that like they made such a big deal, not like a big deal, but like it was like that was like such a an era, like the bad girl era that started. Like I was buying comics back then too, you know, and I remember like as a teenager or a kid or whatever being like I didn't quite understand all. I was just like, there's like all kinds of girl comics now. What's going on? What?
Yeah,
right.
well, just never, I don't know. Like, yeah, you know, it, to me, Vampirella was always around. Well, not always, you know, but she made a comeback in the 90s. But I remember, you know, Vampirella when the character, when she came out. And then, of course, Red Sonja was, you know, you could say a bad girl type character. But I think in the 90s is when it did, you know, it exploded more with, you know, She and Lady Death and just the visuals and stuff like that. And, you know, my buddy Bud Root, who does Cave Woman. Cave Woman's been around since 1994, you know, and she's, you know, she falls into the bad girl category as well. So, yeah, and they're popular. And I think that's one of the nice things with Billy and Brian is, and, you know, Bud hasn't put out an actual Lady Death comic in a while himself, but, you know, he still owns her and does, you know, he does more commissions and stuff. But it's nice to see that Brian's putting them out and Billy's back to putting She out and stuff. And, you know, there's an audience for it because it's cool, you know, it's fun stuff. But I think it still just comes down to it's got to just be a good story, you know, because I'm sure I can't name them. People watching probably can. But I'm sure in the 90s, like everything, when something hits, other people try to do stuff like that. And it just, you know, they just fall by the wayside. And I'm sure that happened as well. So
that's the stuff. Like, I love to find, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's like all like the good bad girl comics. And then there's all the ones that were like the not as good at creators, we'll say.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just like all these like characters that were just not, you know, for, I guess to put it like, would you say like D-list creators? No, I don't want to be like mean, but you know what I mean? Like, there's
I know what you mean.
Like these people, they draw worse than me. Like, what the heck? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, look, one of the things, you know, one of the difficult things, it's great, the comics, you know, there's such a variety out there now. I mean, I go to the shop every Wednesday still. There's a lot of small press companies out there that are doing good stuff with licensed stuff. You know, Mad Cave does Gotcha Man and Speed Racer. You know, I'm just blanking on it's not Opus. But anyhow, there's a lot of smaller companies out there, and that's really good for people wanting to break in. And then obviously there's the crowdfunding field as well. But one of the things I would still caution against people when they ask, and if they show me their work, you know, you might want to do something really bad, but you also have to be, I guess it's subjective when you're looking at your work. And this is where you do want to compare it, you know, and basically what I say is, you know, your visuals, you might be a great writer if you're doing the writing and art, but if your visuals don't hold up to, I guess you could say, some of the weaker stuff that's out there now, you know, you're throwing darts blind, you know. I almost caution against it. I used to teach at UNC Charlotte over here as adjunct professor. And there were a couple semesters where, first day of class is pretty much an introductory day. I introduce myself, show my work, blah, blah, blah. And then I want to get to know the students and their level of work. And so I would, look at their portfolios and whatnot. And even there were prerequisites to be able to take my class. It's a college system. So it's like, oh yeah, you pass, go ahead, move along. And I'm looking at some of the artists' work, students' work, and I'm like, there's no way. And I took a couple of them into the hall at various semesters and basically said, look, I don't know what the policy is here, but I would highly recommend you drop this class and go take something else and, get your money back for this class, however it works. I never went to a real, or college, so I don't know exactly, but a couple of them took my advice and did, because I told them, I said, you will struggle this whole class. Your work is just not there. Because I wasn't teaching a how to draw class. I was teaching sequential art, so storytelling. So you had to know how, you couldn't just come in the class without having the prerequisites of drawing one, drawing two, figure drawing, whatever. And, I'd have students that you'd swear they never took an art class in their life. And I'm just like, no, you're not going to do well in this class, period. So take something else. And a couple of them listened to me, and it's harsh, but I care about people and the money they spend and stuff. And it's like, I don't want to just push them through, because it's like, well, you paid for it, let's push you through so the university can get their money for this class, Well,
I mean, that's one of the things that you need to have in art anyways, is you need to be able to have honest critiques. You know what I mean? Like if you just tell everyone that's fantastic, that's perfect.
You can't do that, and there's ways to do it. And, I knew Neil Adams. I met him when I was in art school, obviously showing my portfolio in my senior year, trying to get work and stuff. And, Neil was a tough critiquer, but his way was pretty brutal, and tough. And he did it that way because he was like, let's see if this guy comes back. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas I have no problem with what he was saying, because when I was at a con, I remember one time and just kind of overhearing him looking at somebody's portfolio. And I had no problem with the information he was giving, but, are you trying to totally destroy somebody as well? It's like, I get it. You're trying to be tough, have him come back. Like, you could almost say it was like, you watch old drill sergeants and stuff, Full Metal Jacket, shit like that. And these drill sergeants that are just, calling you all sorts of names and all this stuff. And I get it. I think now in the military, they have to lighten it up, right? Which I'm like, yeah, screw that. Go back to how it was in the 70s. I don't care, because you're in the military. If you want to call me a pussy and all that stuff in basic training, yeah, I'm in the military.
Right.
If I'm showing you my art portfolio, it's not the Marines, buddy. Take it down a notch, So I'm honest, but at the same time, I'm not going to totally beat somebody up to the point where they're like, oh my God, I'm going to go walk into traffic,
Go on. One thing left to do now, huh? Okay, well.
I don't want them walking away from my table. Next thing I know, they're at the steel trash can and I see a bonfire because they chucked their portfolio in it because of what I said,
Right. Well, it's.
And you got to, it's you can't,
what
you can't judge somebody's portfolio. You can't look at people's portfolios and interact with everybody the same way. Because if somebody is 18 or 19 and, they're still really raw. They'll get a different critique from me compared to the exact same work, but let's say the person is in their 30s. Because I mean, there's a huge difference. It's like, well, you're in your 30s, you're working a real gig, so you're doing this on the side, and it's just one of those things. It's not that it's impossible for that person to keep working at it, get better, and eventually, start doing it for a living. But it's a slimmer possibility from somebody that's 17 that has the exact same skill set, or 14 or something like that, So
well, a lot of it can kind of depend on what people are trying to do too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times you have people that are, middle age, 30, 40, middle age, 50, whatever. And they're not trying to become the next,
right.
McFarlane, or, they're just, I always wanted to make a comic and I did it. And here it is. And
right. And that's just it. And those are questions. Those are like questions I'll ask too, before I even start. Like I'll look through a portfolio, and then before I start critiquing and giving advice and whatnot, I'll ask, what's your end goal? What do you want to do? And if they're like, oh, I want to work monthly for like Marvel or DC, well, I'll spit out different stuff.
Right.
If they're just like, no, I love my job, I just want to do this for fun on the side, then it's like, okay. The nice thing about where we're at in 2025, soon to be 26, is you can go print on demand and print 15 copies of a book if you're willing to do that. You couldn't do that when I was growing up. I mean, you could go to Kinko's when I was in the 80s and burn it off that way and staple it yourself. But now you can literally send your files and make 10 to 15 copies of a book. So I think it's important to find out first what the person expects and what they want to do. Another thing too is, and a lot of people learn this at the Kubert school where I went, is the Kubert school has a pretty high attrition rate where the first year might start off, and I use mine as an example, so this goes back to 88, but we started off with 105 students in my freshman class.
Right.
In second year, I think we had somewhere between 65 to 70.
Okay.
So I mean, right there, we lost, say, 40 students. Okay. In my third year, I think we ended up graduating less than 40. So not only did we have people drop out every year, even in third year, people wouldn't complete it. But in the first year, we started with 105. We probably ended with, 85. Because there was a thing at the Kubert school where it's like, and I'm making this up because I don't remember exactly, but it was like, oh, you've gone a month and you're dropping out. We'll give you like 90% of your tuition back. Oh, you've gone 3 months and you're dropping out, you get this percentage back. But then obviously once you reach like the halfway point and you drop out, it's like, well, too bad. We're keeping everything. And sorry it wasn't for you. But the point of the story is a lot of people found out that it's really hard work to do this for a living. And they realized, you know what? I think I'd rather just keep it as a hobby and do something else. Because it's a lot of long hours. It's solitary, and it is hard work.
People be angry with you. It's
yeah. So, people, I tell them that too when I do portfolio reviews, just to prep them, because like I said, people just don't know. I didn't know. I guess I shouldn't say I didn't know before I went to the Kubert school. I guess I never thought about it because my whole life as when I really was focusing on it, say 12, 13 years old, for those 4 or 5 years before going to the Kubert school, all I wanted to do was draw comics. So, I hung out with friends, don't get me wrong, but most of my spare time was drawing and putting in the hours. So when I went there and I went to school for, 6.5 hours, and then I had 6 to 7 hours of homework every night on top of it, I guess it didn't really faze me because I was already used to wanting to work hard and put the effort in to get better as fast as I could.
Yeah. So I mean that makes sense. It's I hate to go with the cliche, but I mean, what they say is you find a job you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. And then, and when it comes to creative stuff, they're not even necessarily creative. I think just anything. Like if you're a carpenter, right? If you're a builder, right? Which is still creative, but you could say this too. I would assume you could say it with, I'll use my accountant analogy. Maybe it's not the same amount of hours, but the gist is one of the teachers on the first day of school, Jose Delbo, said, you've got, well, he said, he didn't say the hours. There is one with hours. He said drawings. He said, you've got 10,000 bad drawings in you, get to work.
Right.
But I think there's another thing, which is basically like, you've got to put like 10,000 hours into anything. Hours now, not drawings, but hours to really become proficient and whatnot, And I mean, hell, look at doctors. I mean, yeah, they make good money, and I don't fault them for it one bit. The amount of work they put in, the amount of training, not, once you're done with the amount of school you have to go through to become a doctor, and then the hours at the hospital working basically, not an intern. I can't remember what they call it, but, you're basically the schlub. And, we've all seen doctor shows like ER and stuff where the main doctor has the 5 residents, that's it, with them.
Right,
and they're like, okay, what's wrong with this guy? He's presenting this. And you've got 5 guys hopefully saying around the same thing. You don't want, if all 5 are saying something different, I'm assuming that main doctor's like thinking inside, like, oh my God, only one of them is right. What the hell? But, they're working around the clock, 12 hours on, 24-hour shifts, whatever it is,
Right.
And the funny thing is, I had other interests why I was wanting to draw comics when I was in school. Now, comics was the main one because I enjoyed reading comics, collecting comics, drawing so much. However, I also liked I also liked aspects of being a lawyer, because I liked arguing, and as much as I think back then I was more leaning towards like wanting to be a prosecutor. But as I got older, because I still think about the stuff, I like the whole defense aspect because I like going, okay, you're just throwing all this crap. You're totally wrong. And this is why. And here's the evidence that proves you're wrong, But I think the hard part about being a defense attorney is the fact that I wouldn't be able to stomach if it was like, that's right. Yeah. If I wouldn't be able to stomach if basically the client was accused of murder and I knew he did it, because that part of me is like, there's no way I want to defend you.
Yeah, you can't join the
You're a dirtbag. That's why I like the prosecution side, because I'm like, no, I want to put this scumbag away. However, I'd have a hard time doing that if, for instance, it was basically clear, like, well, he didn't do it, So, but I like arguing.
You got to meet the quota. So I mean, that's
right.
Bottom line.
But
like I love watching, like, it's the same thing with true crime stuff, like how you're saying is, I mean, seeing like the aspects of that and like how like the investigations go from out in the field, like then how it like turns out like in the courtroom when they have.
Right. Well, it's the same thing like being a cop. I always thought I like law enforcement and stuff too, but the thing with that is I'd rather be a detective because you're more solving crime and stuff, right? But to be a detective, at least from what I know, you have to obviously work your way up from just being a cop. And I know a few cops that are retired and stuff. And yeah, you have to work your way up and all that. And if I really, really want to do it, I would have done that. But, with drawing comics, yeah, you can work your way up. Obviously, you start off and, you hope to, elevate your career higher with the projects you work on, so on and so forth. And I think I did that. So I was, totally happy with my career, but there's just a difference compared to, being a lawyer and the amount it takes to do that and work your way up. And then being, a doctor or a cop working up the detective. And to be honest, I was never a fan of the academics. And I'm like, yeah, I think drawing comics is an easier path to become a lawyer.
Have you ever done a police procedural comic or anything like that?
No. Well, yes. Yeah. I never got to we never finished it. My buddy Keith Champagne and I did it was going to be a anthology from the standpoint of it appeared in Heavy Metal 4 or 5 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And it was going to be, 10-page chapters every month. And we ended up getting 2 of them out before Heavy Metal basically was folding up and stuff, I think. And it was called Cuda. And it still had, I don't know, mystical is not the right word. Like, it still had, we'll go with mystical elements, because basically the story was, it was a concept I had that I pitched to Keith, because I'm the type that comes up with like this springboard of an idea. And that's when I'll go to somebody and go, this is my springboard. Let's go with that. And that's with First Man. That's with Cordrath, my buddy Dennis. And with Cuda, I love cars, right? I grew up a motorhead. My buddies and I had, would drive cool cars, or we thought they were. We would pull motors in our driveway and all that shit. And I always loved Plymouth Cudas. And I thought Cuda was just a cool name. So the concept I had was I want to do, this is what I was telling my friend Keith. I said, I want to do a story about this cop, a detective in the 70s who drives a Cuda. And that's why his nickname is Cuda, because he drives a Cuda. And then when I get to draw that type of car.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll be honest, other than that, that's it. That's literally my springboard, right? So Keith came up with this concept where he is tracking down, basically this mobster type dude in New York in the 70s. And he, there's this talisman that basically the mobster's trying to get, and Cuda gets his hands on it, and there's a shootout and all this. And then the next thing he knows, he is blasted forward in his car, because this is happening when he's in his car, to the present. Right. And he's on this dock in New York City, and the dock is still there. So when he's transported to the present, it's, nighttime, middle of the night. So the car just pops up, nobody's around. And long story short, he doesn't realize it. Like, he thinks he's just passed out or something. So he's driving into New York, and obviously everything looks different. So he goes to the police station, and, they're not buying, his story and all this. And then the detective that is interviewing him in the interrogation room, this female detective, she doesn't know it. And he soon kind of realizes it. It's his daughter from a whore that he was with in the beginning of the first story in Cuda, that he got pregnant. And then she's saying stuff like she never knew her dad, but he was a cop and blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't know what he looks like either. So that's
Right.
not like she's like, oh my God, you're my long lost. You know, she has no idea. She just knows that her dad was a cop. So basically, this dude from the 70s, this mob guy, he's still around. He's obviously older now, you know, in present day, running things. And that's where we were going with it. And we got 2 of the chapters out, and we did print it. And, you know, because it was 8.5 by 11 because it was heavy metal. So we did print it magazine size, the 2 chapters to just put out and sell. But since it says to be continued, when I have it, it shows. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I'm kind of like, I don't push it too hard because it does end on a to be continued. But I would like to get back to it and just finish it. You know, and I even told Keith, I said, is there any way? Because it was supposed to be 5 or 6 chapters, I think.
Right.
And that's a lot of work. And I was like, you know, if we could wrap it up in maybe 1.5, so like 15, maybe 2 chapters, 20 pages, that would be cool because then it would be done, you know.
They're doing what is it? They're adapting you know, Criminal from Ed Brubaker.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
they're doing that for adapting that for Amazon.
Oh, nice.
So I would think and I mean, his stuff always sells anyways, but I would think that would just bring more eyeballs out when people getting into I mean, like that. I mean, I like the sound of that because it's like it's got that, you know, it's got like the crime feel to it, but like you're saying, like it's got almost kind of like a mystical or like a, I don't want to say like a cult, but I guess maybe kind of a cult or
yeah, I mean it has the mystical thing just really from the fact that he gets transported to the present day. I mean, the talisman still has stuff to it, but it wouldn't be, from what I remember, because it's been, like I said, 4 or 5 years now. I don't think we were ever going to play out the story like there's tons of like magic and stuff in it. It's more like, crap, now he's in the present day. He has to navigate this with this, is you could say, partner who is his daughter, and he knows it and she doesn't. And like, even like one of the guys that he used to run around with, his partner, back in the day, is in jail now, you know. And she visits him in the second chapter of the story. She visits that guy in jail and stuff. So, and it was fun. And it was, you know, just to get to the point of,
yeah,
it was probably one of the few things I've done that was reality based from the standpoint of there weren't, you know, big brutish superhero guys and, you know, hot chicks and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, his daughter is an attractive woman, but she's not the, you know, Wonder Woman type build and stuff, because it's a more real type story. And it was fun. You know, once again, that was something up until that point in my career that I drew regular people before, but they were always secondary background characters in the superhero stuff. Doing a whole story like that was something different, and it was fun. And yeah, it is something that, you know, would be fun at some point to try and get back to, just to finish it, because I don't like leaving things undone.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, I don't know how you are on time. If you want me to, you got.
Yeah, we can start. Yeah, we can start wrapping, because I know my wife got it. So,
well, that's what I was gonna say. This has been awesome. I mean, I didn't know. Like, I knew you had been at the Kubert School. You had started there, but I didn't know that you had been like a teacher too. I don't like.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely shows. I mean, like it's like going through your art is always, it's like you remind me of like obviously like Bart Sears, because, you know.
Oh yeah, well, we're like really good friends. So
what do you mean?
Yeah.
What am I thinking? The main like anatomy book that I'm thinking.
Vern Hogarth.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I like Vern Hogarth. I mean, a lot of people give Bern's instructional books a bad rap, which really surprised me when I run into artists that do that. I don't care.
Right.
You know, some of them are my friends. I mean, we all have our own tastes. But one of the things that Bart and I really hit off and got along when I first met him, because I met him when I was at the Kubert School. He was a teacher when I was in my senior year. And I introduced myself to him, showed him my portfolio. And, you know, we became friends, and he kind of took me under his wing for that whole third year. I was a student outside of school. He was not my teacher. I would go to his apartment after school and hang out and do homework while he was drawing Justice League Europe. And one of the reasons we got along so well is because we would talk about influences, just like comic book artists.
Right.
And it was like, oh my God, I love that guy. Oh, I love that guy. I love that guy. And then when it was like, well, what how-to books? And it was like, oh, Bert Hogarth. Oh my God, I love, you know, George Bridgman. Oh yeah, Luma, you know. So we had so much stuff in common, you know, whereas, you know, there were a lot of pro teachers at the Kubert School, and I liked them all, but some of what they liked, and I can't recall any examples. I just remember, just remember it. You know, they might go, well, you should look at this person. And I was just like, nah, it's not my cup of tea, you know? So when you meet an artist that you connect with that way, it's like just meeting a friend in general. That take it out of comics. Well, Dennis, my buddy Dennis, for the DNA show and co-creator of this stuff, you know, I met him at a comic shop, and once again, we both like comics. Check. Well, we both like the same type of comics, you know, check. Oh, what type of movies do you like? Holy shit, those are my favorite movies too, you know, check. You know, what do you like to do spare time outside of that? Oh, football, check. You know, if he was like, well, I love baseball, it's not like we wouldn't be friends, but we'd never talk sports because I don't watch baseball. I only watch football, you know, and so.
I could feel that. No, it's like there's like the different comics friends I have, like the people on the internet, and then like the people in real life. You know what I mean? Like there's the ones like we talk. I know with this guy, we can talk about like the Hulk, and we could talk about this and that, and like all my comics is just like, yeah, that's all that kind of weird stuff you like. I'm like, yeah, that's. But I mean, you know, we'll go like we always go down to like there's a shop near Pittsburgh. It's like a warehouse.
Yeah.
And we'll go down there and just dig through the comics bins, and it's always like he'll pull out something and be like, this looks like something you would want. And it's all like he knows like the kind of stuff I like, even though that's not, you know what I mean? Like we don't talk, he doesn't talk about the weird comics I like with.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
He knows all of the kinds of stuff I like.
Sure.
I love it. Well, that's what I mean. Like with Core Draft and Lilineth here, I've got I'm if I try to like order it while I'm on the stream, I will mess up something. And also I'm horrible at trying to go through like rewards lists and stuff.
No. Stream. You don't want to mess up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But no, I gotta get there's 2 issues of Core Draft too, and they're on.
Yeah, and there's different covers on checkout you can choose from. So
hell yeah. So that's what I'm saying. This is, you know, it's like sometimes with stuff, it's like you gotta wait. Like with me, it's like I feel like it's like I've got to like make space in my brain for things. Like for the longest time, like I was getting like all the Grant Morrison stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'd only get like a couple at a time.
Sure.
It was like if I got too many, it would just be like overwhelming. So it's like I like to go through with different artists and just like focus on them for a while. You know, get all their stuff. You know, like I said, I like to go down and just dig for comics anyway. So I mean, that's going through and like the last time we were down there, I was digging out a whole bunch of like Mike Barron Flash stuff. Just
yeah,
I've got to get it. This is where it's at, so I've got to.
Yep. No, I hear you.
So hell yeah. So I'm gonna be getting this. And is it still on the Indiegogo too?
Oh yeah, it's on Indiegogo. It's there.
Okay.
You know, Indiegogo has the only thing on Indiegogo that's not on Kickstarter is the retro version that is going to be printed on newsprint. It's going to have mostly not all comics in the 70s and 80s were 100% flat color. They did some stuff in skies and whatnot, but it's mostly flat color. So it has the retro feel. It has a totally different cover. And that's limited. There's like maybe 10 copies left. And that comes signed with a certificate of authenticity. So
fantastic. All right. Well, so that's what. Either way, well, they'll both be open for the whole.
Oh, they'll be open. We're not shipping until July, so they'll be open well into, June.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so either way, if you're, I know some people are like they only buy on Indiegogo and some only buy on Kickstarter.
Yep.
I buy everything. So
Yeah, so do I. I've done all three.
Exactly. So. Well, shit. Well, hell, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. This is
we'll do it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to pick your brains about like hanging out with Bart Sears and
Oh, I got stories.
Like the Eclipso. There's stuff I want to know about, like his Eclipso comics. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a million things, and then obviously I've got to figure out once I get my hands on this core draft and Lilineth comics. I'll have to come into figuring out all the asking about the lore and whatnot. So
yeah, cool.
Shout out to my the chat here too.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for watching and thank you for posting the links. Really appreciate it.
Omer's been here.
Yeah.
Gray has been here. Gray's doing tomorrow. He's got the giveaway. He had gotten my comic too.
Nice.
When other people are on, I try not to like show my own stuff just because I feel awkward more than usual. But he got an extra copy of Van Piglet and he is giving it away tomorrow. He's drawing it from some sort of a hat or some sort of device with a list of names in it. So go check out Great Cloudy there. He's always a good friend. So
nice.
Someone else. I think there was someone else that was here. Oh, and LeMay. Thanks for showing up.
There you go.
Alrighty. And I'll hit. I guess I'll run us out then. And
all right.
We figure out. Let me switch I'll make it a more shorter outro real quick here. I'll just do my Van Piglet outro. That's it. So if you want to see my Van Piglet comic, it's down in the and all the links and everything are in the descriptions below, and it'll all be on the if you're listening on the podcast or whatever, it's all the links to the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo. They're all in there, so no worries. Cool. And then otherwise, where did it? And I'll give a shout out to my buddy Rikus for creating our outro video here. And I guess that's it for now. Until next time, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Go back core draft. Or no, go back Walnut.
There you go.
Well, that
Lilineth, Infernal Conflict. Go get it today.
Hell.
Hey everybody, it's me, Van Piglet, and this is Dr. Ben's Comics as a podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Uh-oh, the skull fell off the logo. Give me just a second. Darn, this thing is slippery.
She's a sizzle in the night, a shadow on the wall. With fangs like razors, she's the queen of the brawl. Not your average pork chop, she's a legend on the run. A humanoid pig where the moon meets the sun. Watch your step, she's slicker than oil. Her grin's the bait, your blood's the sport. Van Piglet's on the attack. This piece of bacon bites back. Comic book queen, stealing the scene. She's the hottest ham you ever seen. She's got a cape of leather, a swagger so divine. With hooves that leave a mark, she's a villain swine. From the alleys to the rooftops, she hunts in style. With a wink and a snort, she'll leave you be gone. No No stakes, no silver chain. She's got the power of hogs in her veins. Van Piglet's on the attack. This piece of bacon bites back. Comic book queen, stealing the scene. She's the hottest ham you ever Pick up issue 1 on sale now by Dr. Ben's Comics.
You want to have all your blood sucked out by a cute vampire girl like me? Like and subscribe to Dr. Ben's Comics and smash that bell. You can take it from me, the cutest vampire girl around, Van Piglet.